Is there intelligent alien life? And if so, has the government been covering it up?
What's going on, everyone? I am joined again by Stezo for Life, King Chris. Thank you, fellas. So tonight we're gonna kind of go through a statement from Jacques Vallee. If you guys are in the UFO kind of world, you know who this guy is. He was featured in um, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He's also been mentioned a lot from different, UFOologists in quotations. He kind of touches on a lot of what our thought process is on whistleblowers and whatnot, and this whole idea of disclosure and how there's disinformation and you know f- folk like Elizondo and other people coming forward right now. We just kind of, I know us three have been a little bit more on the skeptical side, which is ironic because we are one of the folk that want to believe in this stuff, but in the right way, right? And when it makes sense. So we got this post here that I'm going to bring up, and this is in quotations. We looked for a video, couldn't find one, but I'll just read it off to you guys. So this is coming from the words of Jacques Vallee. What is happening is not at all what we thought would happen once there was recognition of the problem. We thought there would be an opening to the scientific community and the public. That's not what's happening. Jeffrey and I just came from a meeting at the Esalen Institute with a number of scientists who are involved and have very high security clearances on subjects that the public is not told about. And what the public is seeing about UFOs on television and newspapers and on the internet is entirely driven by military concerns. We're rushing into interpretations at various high levels, including Congress, on false data. It's partial data behind multiple shields of secrecy. And, based off of that, just first paragraph, I would say that's pretty much on point as to what we've been saying in all of our videos and all of our discussions backstage and whatnot, and just, on a day to day basis. So I'd kind of like to know what you guys think, just purely based off of that.
Well, it's a good idea of looking at it, seeing it from his perspective, somebody that's been behind the closed doors and seen some things. Their idea of disclosure is kind of the way a lot of people wish it would be, more open and straight to the point, honest, opposed
Right.
to what we're seeing at a lot of these hearings and supposed whistleblowers. The more it happens, the more it seems to just be disingenuous and not honest at all. And I think he sees that too.
Stezo, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that covers a lot of it. Basically, yeah, I mean this has been going around in circles. We've been chasing, the different stories and stuff, and it's just really funny. It's just another example about how the government will try to go ahead and say they're going to be transparent about stuff, and then we get more disinformation and sent off in a different direction. And that's why a lot of people turn themselves off. Like they don't even care or whatever. And I get it. There's stuff that they want to keep, the military wants to keep secret because they don't want, our adversaries to know.
Well, there's a level of compartmentalism,
Right. Yeah. But they really don't want them to know all the stuff out there. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of different stuff, but you might as well just come out and just, I think that the public and everyone's finally said, hey, we're ready for this.
Right.
And they just need to go ahead and come out and say it, or say, hey, here's what we got,
Right.
because then things will go a lot better too for them. I don't know.
Right. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between genuinely not wanting to expose certain things because of national security and safety and stuff like that, and then hiding behind that excuse because of selfish reasons or whatever company trying to keep stuff under lock and key. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from.
And a lot of it comes from, as what they say, the fear of mass hysteria. I
Well,
think
that
we're
too, yeah.
all intelligent enough to know like where we're at with technology that we can handle at least 50% of what they actually know, right? Like, so
Right.
if they were just 50% honest, we'd be able to accept that. Not, I'm not saying everyone, but I think the majority of the population will. So let me continue with this. This is not disclosure. My wife and I have spent 2 months recently in France and England where things are happening now because they are beginning to realize that the US has been lying. We know it's all politics. The group in Washington within the DoD that has been charged with looking for the problem, or at the problem, the Arrow All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, a U.S. government office founded in 2022 to investigate UFOs. It turns out has signed $2 million contract with a company that is concerned with rumor control, essentially to stop people from stirring up the public with the stories about UFOs or about what UFOs may be. So this is a signal to many of us that the subject is about to go into a new phase of secrecy. You are not going to know what is going to be found when scientists in those projects are looking at cadavers of aliens uh, that have been recovered. You're not going to hear what have been found about the propulsion system of the 8 or 9 or 10 crafts that have been retrieved, and you're not going to be hearing about the 90% of the data, which is mostly outside of the United States and is not military data. So to me, the last 6 months have been a big backtracking. A number of my colleagues are leaving the field, and that I think is really important because we've been saying similar things and we're just folk who are highly passionate and invested in this topic.
Right.
And when you have someone that's been in this for 30 years, you have to kind of acknowledge the fact that if he's saying something about this, that we're on the right track when we're looking at people or looking at these House hearings, Congress, Senate. And as much as I like to see it on the public eye, there is a level of me that's like, this is bullshit. They're not actually telling us anything, and they have way more information than they're actually putting out. It's the reason why we have issues with people like Elizondo,
Imagine how frustrating it must be for someone like Jacques, where he spent his whole life in this, and he's getting older and older, and it's like this thing that he thought he was going to see unfold.
Sure.
He's not going to see it happen before he ends up passing, and it's, imagine sitting on this info and this truth and this kind of knowledge and not being able to really get it out there. It's got to be frustrating.
Well, and Stezo, before you chime in, I want to kind of bring out, because James Fox is someone that we all hold in high regard in terms of declassification and just journalism in general when it comes to this stuff. And he's even said he knows 100% there are 4K images and high resolution videos of UFOs that the government is just not putting out. And he's, at this point, even someone like Jeremy Corbell, who I don't really enjoy listening to, they've both said this, that like they're begging that some sort of maybe not leak, but like whistleblower comes forward and actually shows us some evidence,
it kind of seems like Jacques just admitted it at the end of that paragraph.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I still don't get, like, we've gone this far. They've done the congressional hearings. I understand if they said they don't want to talk about we have recovered crash or craft, or we are reverse engineering stuff. But dude, all you need to say is, hey, we now can say we are not alone. That's all you have to say. You don't have to say we're in contact with them or whatever.
Right.
There'll be questions. You can say for national security, we cannot say that what the conversation deals about, but just say, hey, they're here in peace. Don't worry about them, blah, blah. But, just deal with that as disclosure. If you did that, anything else could be understood, Just say, hey, look, you know what? There's aliens. We're not alone. And then pass that on to the scientific community. Let the scientific community go ahead and do whatever they got to do. But just do that. That would go a long way, in my opinion.
And part of me thinks is one of the fears, or they cover it with the mass hysteria argument, but part of me is thinking that they don't do this because then they have to start answering questions of, okay, well, how long have we known? What have you covered up, right? Or it would start contradicting a lot of the mainstream history, right, as you could say, at least up until 1950s, around then, when a lot of these kind of sightings started to happen, like Roswell, Betty and Barney Hill, um, even Skinwalker Ranch. But like, once you come out and come forward and say, hey, this is what's been happening, then they have to backtrack and start explaining, because people like us 100% will start asking questions,
Oh yeah, for
so
sure.
that's where I think the main issue lies, is that they don't want to decompartmentalize, because once they do, it's going to open, monkeys out of the bottle, right? As said from Pineapple Express. But
Yeah.
still, it all jokes aside, it's once they come out forward and say that, there's going to be a whole lot more questions on their desk. And I think that's the main issue why we're seeing that. It's
Right.
nice to see someone like Jacques Vallee come forward, and someone respected in this community kind of come out and say, hey, I'm not buying all this shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Anything else you guys want to touch on?
No, I mean that covers a lot.
That's pretty much covers it. Yep.
Perfect. Well, as always, thank you, gentlemen, for showing up. And if you guys made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you, and we will see you on the next one.
Yep.
Good night.
Later, guys.
Later.